Now 250,000. Now, but to get 275. High, but to get 275. 3. Now 300,000. Now 3 1/4. 325. High, but to get 3 1/4. But to get 325. Now half. Now but to get 300. And hello again from the Mike McGavel Jones Show here in Dallas. We're at the epicenter of the nation at the intersection of the North Dallas Tollway and LBJ 635 in far north Dallas. And we have a great guest with us today, someone that I met about a week ago.
Yeah, that's right.
William Owens is a poet. He's an author. He's an evangelist. He is a philanthropic individual. And from all indications that I have, a great American.
Amen.
And we're going to talk about that. Let's get right back. I want to talk about your youth. I always like going back to the beginning. Always go back to the beginning.
I like that.
So tell me where you grew up.
Sure.
A little bit about your background there.
I grew up in the state of Tennessee, in a city by the name of Memphis, better known today as a place for real barbecue. And so that's where I grew up. I was born and raised there, went to grade school there, graduated high school. And then I was raised between there and California for most of my teenage life. You know, so that's why I don't have a country accent all the way there. You know.
So when you were growing up in Memphis, what did you do? What were some of the things you did as a youth?
You know, my first job was throwing newspapers.
That's a lost art.
You know it is. I had a newspaper route. And I can't remember my manager's name, but he would dump those papers off for me, and I would get my rubber bands and wrap those newspapers.
Have your bag?
Have my bag over my shoulder on my bike and doing my job before school. And I remember one winter, it was cold. I didn't have any gloves, so I had to use a double pair of socks.
Yep.
Did what I had to be done. One day it was so cold, my mom had to take me. And so I had to throw papers that way.
Yep.
And then my second job was working at a local grocery store by the name of Snappy Sacker, right up the street.
Snappy Sacker.
Snappy Sacker, Mr. Luke Hazy. He was the owner. And I was the first black young man he hired to work there back, and that wasn't too far ago. And we made some good ribs for people on Fridays. You know, so yeah.
I don't think people realize how cold it can get.
That's right.
In the Delta. Because you got all that water.
That's right.
And that cold air. I mean, it's to the bone.
It's to the bone, man.
Yeah.
And you know, when you don't have all the jackets you want, you put on just layers of clothes.
So do you go back to Memphis at all?
You know, it's been a long time since I have gone back to Memphis, but when I do, I'm going there to visit my mom, which I'll be doing soon, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get to Memphis 2 or 3 times a year at least, and of course we work with St. Jude Children's Hospital, and we raise a lot of money for them and try to do their great works. And
That's
then
right.
also Ducks Unlimited, which is located in Memphis. I actually do 3 or 4 major events for them. In fact, I'll be going to Washington, D.C. to be with the congressional members at their DU gala and auction.
Oh, wow.
And it's all the conservatives, and they love a photo opportunity.
Oh, don't they?
So anyway, you graduate, you worked. Did you do any sports or anything?
You know, I did play Little League football. It was really fun.
Yeah.
At that time, I was of small stature, even though I was in the 7th grade. I had enough wisdom not to play for the high school football team, so I played for the small league football team.
Nice.
Okay, because these guys in high school were big.
Yeah.
And so that was fun. I never forget my first play. I was put on the kickoff team, and I nailed the guy running the ball.
Yeah.
They had to help him off the field.
Proud moment.
Proud moment. So I
Yeah.
got the permanent in on the kickoff team.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
I bet.
Yeah.
Well, I was never bulky enough to play football. Always wanted to.
Yeah.
But all I had to do was look at those players and go, well, I think that's just one sport I don't need to do. I don't think I'm going to get hurt nearly as bad playing basketball as I would trying to be on that football team.
Yeah.
And we had some, and that was at a time we were a 4A school, which is equivalent to a 5A school now. So we had guys that literally left our school, went to college, and went to the NFL.
Wow.
They were big.
They were
yeah,
big,
yeah.
yes.
So you end up back and forth to California. Tell me that trip. Tell me about how that happened.
How that happened is when my parents divorced, unfortunately, I was 13 years of age, so my dad stayed in California, and my mom resided in Memphis. So as a result, I split a lot of my time between
Parents.
between parents, and therefore between California and Tennessee. Went to John Burroughs Junior High in Los Angeles, and then from there I graduated to go to high school there. Year before my graduation year, I went to L.A. High School in Los Angeles on Olympic Boulevard.
Really?
Yes, I went to L.A. High School there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was a different time.
It was a different time. In fact, I had my life was almost taken during the time I was in high school. I don't know if you remember when they were snatching gold in L.A.
Sure.
Years ago, they were going around snatching gold. I'm sitting across the street waiting to get picked up from school, and these gang members walked up to me and they asked me for my gold chain. And I wouldn't give it to them, And I had been trained in martial arts, and like a fool, I started fighting them. And they took my gold chain, and I could see the bullet in the barrel. And the guy looked at me and he said, "I don't know why I won't cap one on you for hitting my boys." And I'm looking at them, and I bit off the piece of lip hanging from my mouth, and I spit it at them. And that was a moment. I didn't know I was that bold, but God was merciful to me and spared my life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
Yeah, He spared my life. Amen.
So what year did you graduate high school?
I graduated high school in '82. I had moved back to Memphis, Tennessee to be with my mom my last year in high school, and I graduated from Whitehaven High School in Memphis, Tennessee. And that was 1982. And then I went on to college at Oral Roberts University.
Oral Roberts.
Yep.
I remember that very well.
Yes, or are you?
He was quite the evangelist. He was very, I would say back during the time that being a minister or a pastor or a leader seemed to be more honest than some of the things we see today.
Yes, he was authentic.
He was the real deal.
Yeah, he was the real deal. He was who he was, whether you liked it or not.
Yep.
He spoke from his heart.
Yeah.
And he didn't need a teleprompter. He just spoke from his heart, and he spoke from his convictions.
He had a good basketball team, too.
Yeah, they did. I knew several of the players.
I used to drive by the university when I'd be going up through that part of the country.
Okay, yeah.
And I had already seen him for many years on television and in different settings. And I thought, I could get along with that guy.
Yeah, the praying hands.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, those big hands. It was. I think it was one donor who funded those hands.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So you go to college.
Yes.
Then what happens?
After college, I went to the Air Force. Spent a term in the Air Force out at March Air Force Base. That was I went to basic training, and the way I was raised, basic training was a breeze. For me,
Yeah.
the way I was raised. And so, it was funny in some regards. I'll never forget getting off that bus, and I think it's Lackland.
Lackland?
Lackland, when you do
Yeah.
your basic training.
Sure.
And that was a 4 a.m. very cold morning, and it was a horrific experience for a lot of young men.
Yeah.
But I knew what was going on.
Yeah.
So
You were
basic training-
prepared.
I was prepared. Yeah, I was prepared.
Isn't it funny how you remember things as you grow up as a young man? You think about the people who gave you your first job.
That's right.
Because you don't realize it at the time, but they're really, of course they probably needed help, but there's a reason why every connection you ever have is made.
That's right.
I am a firm believer. God directs you where you're supposed to go. It may not be pleasant. It may not be perfect. But I know that's happened with me my entire life when it comes to
Amen.
my profession. And in the places I've ended up and the things that I've gotten to do, I could have never done without direction because, there wasn't that that push so much. Although, I think sometimes God will direct other people to direct you to be who you're supposed to be or where you're supposed to be, and if exactly what you're going to do.
Amen.
So, you get out of the Air Force.
Yes, get out of the Air Force, started a family, and back into the civilian life. My first job was Olin Mills.
I remember Olin Mills.
Olin
photography.
Mills. I was a photographer.
Yep.
And that was a doozy, man.
Crying babies and
Yeah, making the sounds.
whatever it took.
Whatever it took. Telling the parents, don't try to make the children smile. You keep looking at me, okay? Because they look at the child, and say, smile, smile.
Yeah. they're not going to do that.
And they're not going to do that, So that was really fun. And
Now, did you do that in a studio?
I did that in the studio.
Where was
Olin
this?
Mills,
Where was this?
That was in Riverside County after I got out of the Air Force at March Air Force Base.
Okay.
I moved up to Riverside County, got a job at Olin Mills.
Wow.
And that was my first civilian job out of the Air Force.
So we do Olin Mills, and what do we do?
After that, the entrepreneurial bug
Bug.
was all over me, and I was always thinking. And I studied photography in high school, so I always loved having a camera. So I got my own equipment and started freelancing. Freelancing for certain groups and organizations in the Riverside area.
You all right?
And picking up jobs, and so I started moonlighting that while having a job at Olin Mills, and just began my journey. Just began my journey.
So your journey has taken us into a very unique path.
It has. Wow.
We have a couple of books and a major project coming out.
Yes.
I want to talk about your poems first.
Okay.
We'll get that out of the way.
Yes.
But if you haven't, where can they get a copy of this?
You can pick up a copy of Poems for America at throughpeople.com, which is our publishing website. And that was my second book of poetry. And that particular book really came out of, I'll tell you real quick how I wrote the first poem in this book. It was September 14th when a sad athlete took a knee refusing to honor the national anthem.
I might have heard of that.
Yeah, I don't call the name. And let's just say he's still out of a job. I wrote a poem called America in Trouble. And after that, the next day I wrote another poem. And the next day I wrote another poem. And I ended up writing a poem every day until the elections.
That's amazing.
53 poems.
That's a lot of poems.
That's a lot of poems. And it was just the grace of God on me. And, I've been tagged America's Poet. And I received that humbly. And believe it or not, when that term came to me, I did my little research, and americaspoet.com was not even acquired.
Which is amazing.
Which is amazing. So I bought the domain, and people can read a lot of my works right there at americaspoet.com.
Poems for America.
Yes.
It's the resurgence of a fearless return to God and faith.
Yes.
So we want to make sure that you know about that.
Yes.
So I highly encourage you to go check it out and get a copy.
And while we're talking about poetry, this was my first book of poems called Naked Before God. And these poems were born out of an experience I had in my life. I'd been married for 30 years and went through a divorce. And of course, the devastation of it was tremendous. But I had a choice to become better or bitter, and I chose to become better. And when you go through life's pain that's out of your control, things happen. And it was poetry that God used to heal my heart. Naked Before God, words that express my heart. And in fact, that domain is nakedbeforegod.com.
Interesting.
That's when poetry started for me, and I've written over 700 poems today.
Well, if this is the result of a divorce, I may have to read that. And the people that know me know what I mean by that.
Yeah.
You're a natural writer, obviously.
I am.
You have the gift.
I do.
And but you've done something extremely unique, and this is called Astonished.
Yes.
Inviting God to experience you through the journey of faith, how I astonished God on my bike journey throughout America, by William Owens.
Yes.
Let's talk. I want you to tell the story.
Wow. I was having a conversation with my dad one day as we were returning from a road trip from San Diego. And my dad was, of course, lived through the civil rights movement. And so a lot of his conversations centered around that experience. And with mine being a generation later, I had a different perspective. And when we talked about them together, we realized how they complement one another. And I just said, you know, Dad, people need to shift. We need to shift away from the pain of the past to the promise of greatness for all Americans. At that time, our now president, Trump, was running for office. And so after that conversation, I'm working out on my bike, and I shifted my gears to go uphill. And when I did, I had this epiphany. And the epiphany was God speaking to my heart, William, why don't you shift the gears on your bike throughout America and share my love and hope and encourage people? A few months later, Mike, I'm climbing on my bike, and 70 pounds worth of gear, a Trek 920 bike made for the road, a tent stuffed somewhere, sleeping bag, my laptop computer, food, cooking utensils, change of clothes.
You're a one-man motel and office.
And I tell you what, man, I am hitting the road. My first night was right outside of Vegas. I left out of Nevada and didn't know how to even put my tent up. I had bought a new one, didn't practice with it.
You didn't test that out?
It was pitch dark. I had a flashlight under my chin reading the directions, and it was cold.
Yeah, you're a rider. You're not necessarily an adventurer. But you are now.
But I am now, and I did over 1,014 miles, and it was just a phenomenal experience.
Where did you start?
I started in Henderson, Nevada.
Henderson, Nevada.
And I ended in Sweetwater, Texas.
Sweetwater, Texas. Oh, I know Sweetwater quite well.
Rattlesnakes or something. They do in
the rattlesnake roundup.
Yes.
And I actually have been to that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where haven't you been, Mike? I need to be interviewing you, man.
Well, there's a lot of places, and it's really funny because Travis knows this. I reference a lot of places where I've sold businesses because that's what I did. And like you, I wasn't taking a tent, but I was in some really bad motels. And I sold the Western Auto Store out in Sweetwater, Texas, probably 25 years ago.
Okay.
25 or some odd. I could probably. Some places I can tell you the day that I did it. It's crazy.
Wow.
But you were some kind of astonished, probably just going to Sweetwater, Texas, because there's nothing there,
There's
brother.
nothing there. You know, I did not plan to end there. I woke up that morning at the TA gas station in my tent and could barely move. My back had just
Out.
I did 69 miles that day on my bike with 70 pounds worth of luggage. I loved every minute of it, but I couldn't shake it. And some people from a cowboy church I had spoke at the few days before came and picked me up and drove me to Dallas.
Well, there's a blessing.
Yeah, it was a blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when did you do this? Tell me.
I did this in 2017 of November.
Okay.
I left November 7th of
A year and a half ago?
A year and a half
thereabouts?
ago, yeah. And
And how many days was
it
this?
took me 4 months.
4 months?
Yeah, it was a journey, not a race.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes
And you stopped along the way?
I stopped along the way and shared the gospel, met people, talked about people's purpose and their vision.
Were you popping into churches?
And when people found out about me, yes, I would
They knew you were
welcome
coming?
to the church. They knew I was coming. A pastor told a pastor who told a pastor. And then a lot of times it's just rolling up on people one-on-one. People are like, what are you doing, you know? And so
Why do you have all that stuff on you? Why do you have a tent you don't know how to use?
You know, it looked like I had a space outfit on a bike, though.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because I was geared up. You know, I was geared up. I had the best equipment. I had one person who sponsored my journey, and I had GoPro cameras.
Nice.
In fact, in this book, you have pictures in the book, but you also have these little things called QR codes. In fact, I just went past one. So when you scan the QR code, you actually will see a movie pop up on your phone.
Really?
Yeah, because I travel with my GoPro cameras.
Nice.
So when you scan that, a video of the journey, of that part of the story will show up on your phone.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna go to the next thing.
Sure.
Because we are on the clock.
Absolutely.
But I want to go back, Travis. I want these people to see this book. I want to encourage people to buy this book, and Astonished.
Yes, and you can pick that book up on Amazon, actually.
You can get it through Amazon, and then tell us your website real quick.
Sure. You can get it at Amazon, or you can go to throughpeople.com, THROUGH, people.com. It has all of my books there. I've written over 15 books,
yep.
and 6 books are currently in print, but all of our books are listed there.
Very good. Travis, I think I'd like to play the video now.
Okay.
We're going to do the video,
Yes, I'm
and then I'm
excited
going to
about
let you
this.
talk about it.
Okay.
Flame for America, a compilation of essays, poems, open letters, and pictures. by Americans from every walk of life. Never in the history of America have we witnessed a movement that has awakened the American conscience and the patriotic spirit. Never has there been a galvanizing of like-minded Americans who are committed to making America great again. America is protecting her borders, recapturing the respect of other nations, strengthening her military, and creating more jobs than we have witnessed perhaps in history as a nation. Most importantly, America is acknowledging God again and returning back to the sanctity of life. We also acknowledge that America has witnessed a president unlike any other take the helms of leadership and has been used by God to create a shift that continues to send ripples throughout the world in the person of Donald J. Trump. The vision behind the book, Aflame for America, is a compilation of essays, poems, open letters, and pictures by Americans from every walk of life. Americans who have something to say and they want to be heard. Essays that speak of what is wrong and how it can be fixed, or perhaps a reflection on our history and how it speaks to our future. Maybe you have a poem that has captured the state of our nation that grabs the heart. Open letters to leaders or media on an issue that needs to be brought to light. Perhaps you have an unbelievable picture or pictures that you have captured and they need to be shared with the nation. Whatever is on your mind and in your heart, this full-color 9x12 hard case tabletop book, Aflame for America, might be the book, the platform, and the brand for you to express those ideas. Attend a free webinar to learn how your expression could be included in this unique and limited book that debuts on Inaugural Day 2021 in Washington, D.C., the nation's capital. Click the link below to register now for this free webinar. Space is limited, and this offer expires as soon as every page has been reserved. Aflame for America, a compilation of essays, poems, open letters, and pictures by Americans from every walk of life.
All right. All right, William, tell us what this is all about.
A flame for America. People are on fire for America. We have never seen what we're seeing right now. As a writer, as a publisher, God gives me vision, and the vision I have is a classic 9x12 hard case dust jacket tabletop 300 plus page book that captures the essence of what we've been through for the last almost 4 years. But the unique thing about this book is that it's a book that's Americans standing for truth, for greatness, and for God. And it's a compilation of essays. Okay. It's a compilation of poems, open letters, and pictures by Americans from every walk of life. And so this is not one person writing the book. It's people submitting and sharing their stories.
It's we the people.
It's we the people. It's a book by the people, for the people, and distributed through the people.
By the people.
Yes. As a side note, publishing is very political. You only have 6 major distributors in the country. Yep. And all of them are liberal. And there's so many things and so many games that are playing behind the scenes with distributors. Mm-hmm. They charge you for keeping a book on the shelf. They charge you for everything. And so we decided to publish this book, and we're going to distribute the book. But more exciting is for people how they can learn about this. Right. And by just simply going to aflameforamerica.com, right, they can begin their journey. We're going to be hosting webinars to really educate people about the book. Why, how, who, where, when, and how you might be the kind of person that would want to submit your essay, submit your poem, your open letter, or your professional photographs. We have a lot of photographers out there, a lot of people who take some fantastic pictures, but they don't have a platform to share their work. Right. Perhaps a person watching this don't have a platform to share that essay or that open letter or that poem. That's what this book is for. And so it has an entrepreneurial platform of how we're approaching this, meaning that people will participate. They'll put some skin in the game, right, but they'll have a chance to also be reciprocated with profits from the books they sell. So it's a really unique platform. It's based on a capitalistic approach, and we want to give up to 20%.
Wait a minute. Did you say capitalist?
I sure did, man.
Did you say free enterprise?
I said free enterprise. Absolutely.
You know, I heard this country was kind of based on that program.
You know what? And I love it that way. That's why everybody's trying to come in this country.
Now listen, I'm confused. Now this will be a controversial statement, Trelvis, my producer man.
I feel it coming.
Yeah.
Come on, man, bring it.
Well, look, you're an African American.
Yes.
You're from Memphis, Tennessee. You
me
like
take it
Trump?
from there?
You like Trump? What's up with that?
You know what? I voted for Trump, and I'm gonna vote for him again. What Trump is standing for, I've always stood for, and that's for opportunity, just to do what I was wired to do. You know, America is all about giving everyone an equal opportunity. Now, let me just say this. A lot of people might see opportunity as not equal. Well, we have to compete. You know, you don't see athletes on the field complaining that somebody hit them too hard. They get up and keep going.
Yep.
You don't see somebody competing for MPV complaining about, well, why did you block me? They go around them. You know, so why do we expect, you know, the capitalistic community, why do we expect competitiveness to be all of a sudden skewed to be in my favor? We have to compete. You know, so everybody has an issue. I could say my issue is being African American. Well, this person don't like me. Well, I'm too tall, I'm too short, you know, I'm too handsome, I'm too ugly. No, everyone has something that's going to oppose them and create an excuse for you not excelling in being who you are and what you do.
Right.
You know, so I think Trump being a businessman and him being out in that industry, he had a competitive edge. He's always had a competitive edge. And that's what we have to develop. And that's what capitalism is all about, you know.
Sure.
How many stories do we have to hear where a person said, you know, someone said, no, you take a look at Chicken Soup for the Soul, which has sold over 500 million books, 47 languages, 250 different titles. And this has a similar twist to it in that it's essays. They were told no, 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 no by publisher after publisher, but they didn't give up.
Right.
So, yes, I totally stand for what Trump stands for, and his track record speaks for itself.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why 35% of black Americans are now supporting President Trump.
Yeah.
And I believe that number is going to go up.
Yep.
You know, he's performed. You know, look at all the things he's done just for black America. The empowerment zones now, he's putting $100 billion into that. How many people who have been wrongly imprisoned, he's letting people out of prison. You know, so when you take a look at what this man is doing, then let's move away from the accusations. Let's just take a look at what this man doing. And yes, we know he's imperfect. Guess what? You know, I'm sure you had to take a bath yesterday or day before too, because none of us are. Okay.
No, you know, I just had a congressional candidate here a minute ago, and we were talking, and we had a very similar conversation about, you know, when you put yourself out there, you know, you expose yourself, and sometimes it doesn't work well. Now, I think the thing that probably is the most attractive about Trump for a lot of people, besides what he's done for groups and individuals now, but is the fact that he does have the warts, and he doesn't hide from them.
That's right.
Whenever you see him, and he's got some narcissism in him. I get that.
Yeah.
But he probably has earned all of it. You know, he is a billionaire.
Right.
And he's used to running a boardroom. And he's running the show.
He's running the show.
And he is not pandering to anybody. I mean, nobody even
at
his
all.
cabinet.
No.
Now, listen, there's very few politicians or presidents that they've had a revolving door in D.C. Like he has. And there's a reason for it. If you're not getting the deal done,
That's right.
you're fired.
You're fired. That sounds
So,
familiar.
I know it does.
Where'd that idea come from?
I don't know. That'd be a great TV show. Well, all I know is I'm excited. I was excited to meet you. We gravitated to each other
did, yeah.
immediately the other night. The Beasles were great host and
Weren't they?
hostess, and it was a gathering of conservatives.
That's right.
And I enjoyed the visit. I like to hear people speak behind the scenes. I don't need to hear them in front of a microphone, because that's when they usually are going either too much in the middle of the road trying to make somebody happy, or too far left or too far right, depending on their politics.
That's right.
But at least when you're sitting in a room and you're having a cocktail or you're having dinner, that's when you really get to find out if you like them or not.
Absolutely. And that's what, I think that's the impetus also behind this book, too, allowing people to really be authentic about what they feel, what they think, what they
Genuinely feel.
Be genuinely, and write about it freely. That's one of our rights, the freedom of the press, and that's why we're going to do this. I might also add, for those who might be interested in getting some parts of these books, when you go to Aflame for America, you can sign up to be a part of our webinar. It's no obligation. When you do, you're going to get a personal link to share with other people. When you share those links, you actually accrue a few points, and when you get so many points, you get free books.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
if
great.
you didn't understand what I said, that's okay. Just go to Aflame for America, put in your information, and you'll see what happens.
So what is our timetable for this project?
Yes, I'm glad you asked. We've just launched it. This is our first media exposure, thanks to you, Mike.
You bet.
We're going to debut this Inauguration Day 2021 in Washington, D.C. So we only have so many spaces available in the book. So for those who are interested, we really encourage you to sign up to take a look at the webinar. From the webinar, you can make a decision if you want to be a part of this. Those who are in the book, of course, are going to be invited to the inauguration of the debut of the book. And then we're going to unveil more and more details of how this is going to be marketed throughout the country, and how everyday people, whether you're in the book or not, can actually have a say in sharing this book and selling this book.
So your major, as of today, your sole focus is going to
Yes.
be on Aflame for America.
Aflame for America. And I'm traveling America in my motorhome.
Yes.
I live in my RV now,
Yep.
and I'm traveling throughout the country. And I'm in Texas for a season,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll probably be going to Tennessee to visit my mom soon. But this project launches, and I'm excited about you being a part of it. We have other people who are teaming up with us. And again, it's that limited number of spaces in the book. So if you see this, once you see the webinar, make a decision, come on board, because once we close it off, it won't be another book like this. So that's what we're excited about. And we're also excited about giving people a chance to get some of these books just by sharing it with other people.
Sure.
And the system we have in place is quite interesting. It
Well, of
keeps
course,
going.
this show is produced directly to Facebook,
Absolutely.
but also Travis downloads it on multiple other locations. We are on YouTube, and we have our own channel. So if someone's interested in following up on things, you and I will do it. We'll do this again. We'll do this
Fantastic.
again when you're in town.
Yes.
But they can go to Mike McGavel Jones Show.
Absolutely.
Either on YouTube or Facebook or one of the other social media sites.
Right.
We've done over 70 shows now, and you're probably number 70 or 71 or something. But I think people are getting a pretty good idea of what we do, what we're about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very pro America, very pro business, freedom and the free enterprise
Right,
system.
yes.
I mean, I always have been. That's just how I was raised. And I recommend anyone within my shout to check out Aflame for America, and also look up William Owens' site and learn more about him.
Amen.
And we very proud to have you on the show.
Thank you,
I'm
Mike.
glad you got to come. I'm glad that we had this availability, because I know you'll be on the road for too long.
Yeah, I will be.
So just remember, Aflame for America.
Aflame for America.
William Owens, proud American, patriot, preaching the gospel, evangelist, great American.
Great
and
American.
It's so nice to know you. It's been
Likewise,
great.
Mike. Thanks for having me on your
Yeah,
show.
my
I'm
pleasure.
excited about what's ahead of us.
Well, it's going to be great, and I look forward to seeing what you do.
Thank you.
So there you go, folks. On behalf of everybody that's a part of this one here in Dallas at the Center of America, right here at Lincoln Center at the LBJ Freeway and the North Dallas Tollway, we thank you for watching this, and hope you check out all the websites and things that we discussed, and the books, of course. We appreciate your diligence in watching our shows, and suggest it to other people, if you will. The world's a family, and this is just another one, and hopefully we can reach a lot of good folks. So on behalf of all the folks here in Dallas, Texas, and the Mike McGavel Jones Show, God bless you, and we'll see you next time. we bid you adieu.